All right, the Hangout is live. We are on the air. It is January 18th, 2019, and my drawing just fell off the that tape must not be so sticky anymore. And I am John Beatty, and I have co-host Mr. Ron with me here. Say hello, Ron.
Hello, how's it going?
There you go. That way, for you few people in the room right now, and those of you who watch this later, you'll be able to know whose voice is talking. Ron is going to help me out with the chat room. If it gets busy, he'll read messages while I work, and that'll help me to just be able to answer and not have to look at the chat. I will try to say hello to everybody that comes in, unless, of course, you're watching this on a replay, and then if you, hey, leave a comment, I'll say hello to you down below. Which, by the way, as I start this, you can subscribe for free to my channel. There's no charge on my YouTube. I don't know if some people do charge YouTube subscriptions. I see something in the back about subscriptions, and that may be something that other people do, but right now I guess I'm not doing it, and there's no reason to. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you haven't. Ring the bell for notifications, and don't forget, thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. Haven't got a thumbs down yet, so I've been very lucky in that. One day I will probably get one, just because people like to do a thumbs down, to be mean. And also, don't forget, like I said, after this is done streaming live, there will be a comment section. So if you want to say hi, if you want to ask a question about what I did or what I've done in the past or something, feel free to put it in there. I will answer you as soon as possible. Okay, so having said all that, we've gained a few watchers now that we're live, and don't want to go and repeat all that. Not that it was a ton, but I think if the people are already have watched me a few times, they've probably heard that spiel more than once. Wouldn't you say, Ron?
No, they're definitely knowing what's going on.
All right. So, took a little break yesterday. I needed to rest my eyes and rest my body. And the best news I got today, I guess, was my labs came back phenomenal. For a 57-year-old man going on 58, Ron will tell you my labs, he knows all about them. I showed them to him before we started. He says they're aces. My doctor said they're aces. So health-wise, as far as what they can tell from my blood work, I'm going to be around for a while. As far as we know. Now, there could be accidents, but can't prevent those.
Those were the labs of a 30-year-old Olympian.
Oh, yeah, there you go. My doctor always says people would pay for my blood work. Maybe that's a side gig for me.
They want to just pass the drug screen. AG's in the house. He says, hello, John, whomever's in the chat as well. Hey, AG.
AG, how's it going, man? Feeling a bit rested now. I got some extra hours of sleep yesterday that I really needed. This week was busy, running here, running there, both for myself and my family. And boy, I tell you, to be that 30-some-year-old again, or to be Jacob's age, 6, and have that uncanny energy that he does. Well, I could probably live stream 20 hours straight and only get by on 4 hours of sleep, and it wouldn't even faze me. So, go ahead.
He'd do the same, but with like 5-minute nap.
Yeah. Yeah, just shut those eyes and then realize he's about to fall asleep and kind of come to and go, I feel a lot better now, and then go like 4 or 5 more hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll do your stream sitting down. He'll do his running in place.
Yeah, he'll be on a treadmill. I would love that, but it's not meant to be. You know, you get older. Sleep becomes more. Yeah, and like I said, like we discussed, Ron, I think the one thing the one thing wrong with being human is I think the energy level needs to reverse to, when you're young, more sleep. When you're older, you get that energy burst. That way, we can always have that extra energy when needed. We are Ron John, but we can't do that because it's trademarked and copyrighted, and I don't. I'm with a H, not an N. So the Ron John Surf Shop, the famous one that you may have heard of, is actually we're Smile and Nod. Ron would be smile. I'm nod.
That's right. This is when you want to agree with people you really don't want to agree with.
But it makes life easy. Well,
yes,
easy.
dear. Yes, dear.
I guess I could say it makes life easier. Life is not easy. We can make it easier, though. And Ron is teaching me how to do that, because I kind of sometimes, I don't say talk out of turn. It's just sometimes I need to learn to just zip it and not say anything, because sometimes not saying anything is the best. So now that I've already said that, we shall get along with this. Now that the hijinks are over, the interesting thing about doing these is I always get warmed up, right? When it's over. What I'm going to attempt tonight on this one, and I'll go over the drawing here in a second, because I'm going to have fun. I want to experiment a bit, kind of. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think it'll turn out okay. But I just want people to understand where I'm going. So if they see something that they may think, what is he doing? You'll know. Let me finish his nose here. Get another nostril in, because she does have two. All right. So as you can see, the drawing is kind of simplistic. No blacks in the costume. Got some blacks up here. We're going to get the blacks in here, but, well, maybe not in here. What I'm going to do around her is I'm going to try to get a little what I call painterly inking on this, which is going to mean kind of how I did her nose. I'm trying to get a little more brushy and a little more, I don't care if the line is perfect, although that's just kind of built into my DNA. So it's hard for me to pull back on that, but I'm going to try to just loosen up a bit and do it as I kind of would a painting, because unless somebody takes this in the black and white stage or an ink wash stage, it will go to a full color painting piece, and I'm going to try to loosen up on my watercolor on this. Now, if somebody buys it, I may change that, because they've seen some fairly tight watercolor stuff that I've done, but I would really like to play around and let the watercolors begin to mix more. So that's my thinking. Now, whether or not I follow through on that, we're going to find out, because I might tighten up, and like I said, this could become a total train wreck, but hopefully not. So enough talking. That's the explanation. I might have to explain it again if someone comes in and gets afraid of what I'm doing, but that's okay. I do have a plan. There is a method behind the madness, so I thought I would share it.
Which sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, well, only the simplicity, I could take this drawing two ways. And that's one, I could just do like a nice dead weight type thing and do some blacks. In the 80s, I was a big fan of Patrick Nagel. I don't know if you're familiar with his work or not, Ron. You were probably very young, but he did a lot of work, at least usually one illustration, and it could be just a small, like 2 by 2 inch thing, but it was usually a bigger painting or something. Illustration in Playboy magazine. They were very graphic. Most of them were like a black outline. The skin tones were just left white, and there was bold graphic color and stuff like that. So I'm not really doing a Nagel. I'm just going to let my brush try not to be so. And see, it's like I just naturally have this smooth line. So to really get rough, I have to force myself, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to, basically, it's going to be like, I don't want to try to labor so much over it. I want what I put down to be confident and strong. So, so far so good for not having put any lines to paper today. I actually had this drawn out yesterday, and I even sent I was going to post it on Facebook and Twitter because I was ready to go, and then I had the drawing done fairly early in the day, and I just realized I was tired, and so I just decided take the night off, come back and do it tonight, which will throw the Joker piece into maybe limbo for a while, or maybe I don't know. I'm going to figure out what to do for next week. I might just stream commissions because this week has been kind of a non-productive week, and I need to have a productive week. So I might have to cut out the daily live draw and go full commissions. But the good thing about those is I can also stream those. No reason not to.
Definitely. I'd watch that.
Yeah. One of those things where I'm just thinking I got to get stuff done for other people. And while I enjoy being able to have the freedom to just kind of pick characters I want to do and do it, I do have some paid commissions that I need to get on. And a couple of them are for the show that I'm going to be doing along with Mike Zeck, another great guest list of artists. It's in Dallas. It's the North Texas Comic Book Show, and that will be February 2nd and 3rd. So if you're in that Dallas, Texas area, definitely come out and say hello.
So AG has a question. He says,
okay.
You had mentioned inking over Golden. What was that book? Short Batman story?
No. I actually inked over Golden on the Nom. I ghost inked. The first thing I inked over him was a ghost ink job, and it was the Impossible Man. I think it was a summer special annual or something like that cover. I think it's kind of out in the open now that I ghost inked it for him. But at the time, it was, he needed to get it done, and he was local here in the Daytona Beach area. And I kind of got to know him. We began to hang out, and one day I was over there, and he was like, "You think you can ink something for me?" And boy, that was magic to my ears. I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I need this inked because I got another cover assignment that's due, and I'm not going to have time to do it." And it was pretty nerve-wracking inking Golden for the first time. In fact, every time it's kind of nerve-wracking inking Golden. I don't, when I got the Nom stuff in the first issue, he started out as finished pencils that were gorgeous, and then it went to layouts, which were still beautiful. And that was the stuff AG might remember in one of my streams I was talking. And I'm not really worried about what's happening out here on Catwoman because this is not going to get all black, but well, it might depending on what I do. I'm going to take my big fat brush out and get that real painterly looking black background going. So anyway, as I was saying on the Nom stuff, that was the stuff that, if you put anything in front of me now, I think with a better understanding of drawing and inking and just everything in general, I think that would be the stuff I would like to re-ink and approach it with a little bit more knowledge than I had at the time. That was the one that I actually, and I don't know if I just told you, Ron, or if I was talking to the chat in it, where he was putting directions on like where the light sources were coming from. And I had no understanding of some of it. I understood, here's a direct light, but he would have and he would draw the arrows in the direction of where the light was coming from. And he would do like a 3D arrow. I'll give you an example. The best way to show something is by example. He had something like this. And then he would even put like this 3D effect on the arrow. So it might be like this, and then it would be like his direction would be almost sunset with an arrow going that way. And then he would have I won't bother with the 3D effect because he'd have an arrow come in here, something, and it would be like main light source, main light. So, it's like one of those things where I would look at it and, okay. And he explained it to me for the first dozen pages or so, or even in later on in the book, if there was a panel he wanted lit a certain way or something, he would do that note. But it became not as much. And really, we would do it on photocopies. So one day I was driving home and I was headed east, and I am on the east coast of the U.S. in Florida. So the sun was beginning to set, and I noticed that my car was casting this long, long, long shadow. And that's when it hit me, all these lighting directions, what they were, especially the almost sunset or sunset, that anytime I threw a shadow, I needed to be aware that that the sun was low in the sky. Therefore, the shadows should kind of take on that long, low effect. And I wasn't really interpreting that as well as I could have. Now, a lot of it was I didn't have the time. The book was always late, which was nothing unusual for even books back then. They were late. But they always, I'm trying to, I've had this conversation before with a few people, and it literally would seem like I would turn in an inked book 2 weeks before it hit the stands. And I don't know how that happened. It's one of those things that was just like magic, and not in a good way. 'Cause then I realized that I'm inking on the next issue. I'm 2 weeks in. This just came out, so I got to get this one in.
Well, my body story just came in. Said, "What's up, John?"
Hey, what's up there, Sean? Good to have you again. Glad you could make it.
AG says, cool about your story. He don't know where he got the Batman from. He thinks that you were talking about those Batman black and white books. That must have been it.
Yeah, that could have been, but I always like telling that story about the lighting directions and the nom stuff because, like I said, I really didn't understand it. I mean, he was explaining it to me, and I'm kind of confused. You know, I'm like a deer in the headlights. And then when it hit me years later, I he had I think that's when he had moved up, and he was the an editor and art director at DC Comics, and then over at Marvel. And when it hit me, I finally told him. I said, "You know what? I know what you were telling me after all these years about the lighting stuff." And he's like, "Well, that didn't take long, did it?" I just had to laugh because it was probably a good 5, 6 years after I'd worked on the book, you know, and it was like, yeah, uh, little, uh, but it was my golden, and he's advanced. He is. I'm never going to understand. He always, you know, he's always worked. He says with three light sources: a direct light, a secondary, or a rim light, reflective light, any way you want to call it, and the ambient light. And I asked him one time. I said, "Well, what is this ambient light?" And he's like, "Well, that's the light that's just naturally all around us." And I'm like, "Huh? How are you going to show that?" You know? And I don't know, but that's the way his mind sees stuff. So, um, when you talk about a true genius, you really have to put him in with the literal who's who of comic book artists because it just don't get any better. I think the only thing that his career, because he's done everything except he never stayed on a book. Right? You know, he stayed on Micronauts for like maybe a year, a little over a year. Stayed on the Nom for right at a year. He never made like a 2 year, 3 year, or whatever, like an extremely long run to establish, I mean, because people were wanting him to do covers. He was doing other design work and stuff like that. So he was always busy. It's just a lot of his stuff was never seen. Because some of it was advertising work and design work, which a lot of that stuff doesn't get shown.
AG agrees that he was very good at the lighting.
Oh, yeah. Um, and I love his sense of coloring too. He likes to really go in, um, especially in the old days when it was like no airbrush and stuff. Now he likes to play around in Photoshop these days. He still colors all his own stuff, and he. This is an interesting theory, and I'll go ahead and speak on that because we're kind of talking about it. He uses a blur tool because, and this was kind of interesting to get his take on it, is he never really liked action lines, motion lines, and stuff like that because he thought they were just, they're a storytelling device. But, when you're doing them in black line and you're working in black line, it always seemed to, that was the part of comics he didn't like. Everything else he pretty much, you know, likes as the job of telling a story. The sequential part of it, the down to the last detail of setting the stage, having the characters act, which is something that a lot of comic book artists don't do. They just draw the character over and over and don't think about real subtle gestures that bring them to life and make them, different from the character standing next to them. So very, very, you know, very well thought out on that type of stuff. So, trying to think, I kind of lost. I get into these stories and I lose my. I start thinking about like a particular book or sequence, and I kind of go off the rails, Ron. Either that or it's my Alzheimer's kicking in. My blood works great, but it means I'll live to be 100 something, but I just won't remember anything, right, Ron?
You covered it. He was just talking about the lighting, and as were you.
Yeah, but I was talking about, I think the only thing uh, that he didn't give the comic book audience was a longer run, like say 3 years or 2 years. Like imagine, um, he did I think he did one full issue of Doctor Strange. It may be issue 54. And so many people have built their careers on that issue of Doctor Strange. Um, because it's so good. The G.I. Joe yearbook, where he went real cartoony and warped the cars and the vehicles when they're turning and stuff. Just gorgeous. Nobody else would do that but him. I mean, uh, that was something that I would I would bet that he picked it up from. In fact, he was the first person that I know of that actually studied anime and manga back when I mean, nobody was really looking at it, and he was. And you can see bits of it in his work. And just like that instance I'm talking about now, the G.I. Joe annual one, where the vehicles are getting twisted and stuff, that's either a highly European influence or, like I said, it could be from the Japanese manga or anime stuff where they, you know, even the hardware, let's say, is animated or it has life to it also. So it just wasn't stagnant. It just wasn't like, you know, um, ruled lines and stuff. It kind of had a life of its own. Um, so yeah, I think if let's just say he would have done a 3 year run on Doctor Strange. I mean, he's a brilliant artist for Doctor Strange to begin with. One issue, and then I inked a. Speaking of black and white, I inked a. It was called Marvel Shadow and Light, and he penciled a story, like a 10-page story, and I think I inked 6 of the 10 pages, or 7 or 8 of them, and Al Milgrom inked the last ones, and it was just beautiful. But I guess my main point is, if he had spent 3 years doing Doctor Strange monthly, um, I think he would have had that huge fan following that some other people do. Not that he doesn't have his fan following, but a lot of his fan following is professionals that know how good he is. That's all I got to say about that. Come on, that was my
Your
Forrest
Forrest
Gump.
Gump. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was very good.
Well, I didn't really get into character, but I was just playing around with it. After I said it, I was like, oh, I should have really Forrest Gumped it up.
Should have.
I should have. See, it's an afterthought again. So, as I said, I'm trying to be a little more playful in the ink uh, with this, although I do struggle with that because let's just say my quote commercial, my, let's do the air quotes. I'm going to let the drawing, the commercial style of John Beatty is this very controlled, clean style. Now, that's fine. That's how I chose to make my bones in the business, so to speak. So that's what I'm known for. Um, the problem is when you step out of that comfort zone or that area that people know you for, uh, if they don't know any backstory, they think you've just, you know, lost it. Uh, I've told this story before. A lot of times, if I've started a commission and it's not working for me, because maybe I'm thinking, wow, it'd be really cool if I could kind of do this, but I don't want to do it and then the person hate it, and then, you know, they post it online somewhere and feel like they've been ripped off. So that's one good thing about doing these drawings and letting people see them to purchase, because they know what they're getting up front. That's what I do love that about this. But a lot of times if I'm struggling with a commission, I will contact the buyer and I will ask them, I'll say like, hey, I'll give you a perfect example. There's even one there's, and I could have went more. I look back at it now and I thought I nailed it, but I'm like, man, I could have really pushed that further. There's a Hellboy Batman on my Instagram feed that is very designy, and there's also I think I put the question up there, and there's a Italian artist he's deceased now. I think lived to be about 84. Sergio Topi, and I love his work. And he does all this nice hatching, negative space, the way he frames stuff like a character inside of a character. You'll see a lot of people, and it's not just him. He didn't own it, but a lot of comic book artists will take from him, and so I'm not, it's nothing. I'm not telling tales out of school, I guess, or whatever. It's like he's this grandmaster of, that type of drawing and design work. And so I wanted to do something in that style. And so I contacted the guy and I said, hey, here's what I want to do. And I even linked over to like a Google page of Topi's work. And I said, what do you think? And he's like, yeah, go for it. And so I was like ecstatic. I did the piece. I thought it was really good. And I scanned it and I sent it to him and I said, okay, here's what I did for you. And I always, when I go out on this limb, I do always qualify it with, if you don't like it, I'll redo it, and that way it gives them an out. But he loved it. He said, man, that's fantastic. He goes, I would have never expected that from you. And that's what I like to hear, because it opens the door for me to experiment. And that's kind of the idea behind these drawings, was to warm up and to just be able to actually step outside of what people might pigeonhole me as and experiment a bit. So that's kind of what I'm doing tonight. As you can see, I'm probably not as loose as I wanted to be. Although, like I said, this will be all black. This is kind of, I'm going to get out the big brush. So it's like, I can slop ink around and not be as, let's say, tidy. But I could have even probably went a bit looser. But, this I really like. I like the feel of these big, bold, juicy lines. So, try to keep it going.
AG said, and this is regarding to Golden, that him and Frank Miller were pioneers with incorporating different art styles like that early on.
And Bill Sienkiewicz. Bill Sienkiewicz brought a lot of illustration stuff into the business. And they also, believe it or not, they kind of took some heat for that. Not only from maybe fans, but from the editors and other people who didn't quite understand it, or weren't used to seeing something. So they put it out there. It's like the story I told a few streams back with working with Kelly Jones, that his Dead Man, when he got that assignment that was in Action Comics, I believe, a 6-part, and each part was 8 pages. He did not want to be pigeonholed into doing Neil Adams' Dead Man, so he came up with well, what if he looked like a literal dead man, like he was rotting away? And that's the way he handled it. And, so now it's like, okay, who really owns the character, Neil or Kelly? It's like Neil did a wonderful job on Dead Man, not taking anything away from Neil Adams at all. But on the same hand, Kelly took it to, I think, another level, took the literal and made it work. So it's always fun. And Kelly was fully, Kelly thought he was going to get the pushback and he was going to get fired and he would never do comics again. And I can totally understand that when you're in the business and you understand the mindset, and people are used to seeing your work a certain way, and then suddenly you get a job and you turn in something from left field. Because you want to grow as an artist. And it's like, that's why I say it's very hard to grow in comics, because once you establish a commercial viable style that they want, they are not happy when you kind of come out of that and hit them with something they're not expecting. I had that happen to me a few times, but I've explained it before. I didn't hear from the editor like I should have. I always heard about it from somebody that the editor told that knew they could trust me not to go confront the editor and say, hey, so-and-so told me you hated this job because it didn't look like my inking over my exec. And I'm like, well, it wasn't a superhero job, or it wasn't over my exec, or, there's a lot of various reasons. So that was one good thing too. When Golden was an editor and an art director at DC Comics, and I'm sure he did it at Marvel too. However, I didn't get to work really with him when he had that position at Marvel, because I was over at DC. But when he was at DC, when he would call upon me to do my inking, he would tell me, he would give me a definite, a direction like an art director should do. Like, this is, keep the integrity of the pencils, but do this, take it this direction. So he would give me that freedom to change up a little bit. And I really like that. And I also like that he had an idea of, I'll give you the perfect example, and it's not slamming anybody, so it's worthy. I think it was the last 2 issues of The Shadow. Rod Wiggum was the penciler, and Golden contacted me, wanted me to ink it, wanted me to put my brush line to it. But what he wanted to do was see if I could take out as much of the rendering that Rod had put in as possible. Try to do almost like the Frank Miller thing. Like, if it's black, make it black. Forget those little lines that are, in there. Just just erase them out. Just simplify it. And it's really funny, because when I look at those issues, I do see that for the most part, I did what Golden said, but there's certain areas where I chickened out and, didn't go all in like I probably should have. So there was still, it's a mindset, and it's also, looking back on that, and that's all I can do now is look back on it. With Golden in there as the art director, I should have went ahead and did it real simple first, got some photocopies, sent it to him, and said, do you need me to ink more on these, or should I stop? You know what I mean? I should have went very real simple with the black and white, and then, like I said, you can always add more. Um, but once it's finished, you can't really take away. So anyway, interesting. It was great to have an editor that was a fantastic artist and thinker, that could actually put into words, a lot better than what I'm doing right now, but put into words what he wanted to see, what the final product, um, what it should look like. And I remember those last two issues also had Mike Mignola covers, which was another nice thing about them. Boy, these are like a bunch of old war stories that people get on my stream.
Oh,
Go ahead.
people love war stories.
I
I like
know it.
listening to them.
I know it. It's, I mean, people get a little bit at a convention. A lot of it's about Black Suit Spider-Man. I'll tell that 100 times if I need to. If someone brings it up, I'll talk about it. But like I said, when I was doing that one, I always have somebody that's going to push back and go like, well, that wasn't the first appearance. It was Amazing 252. And it's like, yes, I know the technicalities of it, but now that it's all out, you can put it in proper chronological order, not publication order. I get that. I'm not stupid. But for all intent purposes, I mean, story wise, you had to have Secret Wars 8 before the costume. I get the publication thing. Am I clear enough on that, Ron? I get.
Loud and clear.
But I mean, people will be like, "Well, it really was this," and I said, "Yes, I understand at the time," and I said, "But it still happened in Secret Wars first." It's almost like, well, who would win between what Wolverine and name a character?
You're putting me on the spot here. I wanted to name something just ridiculous.
Well, I don't mean literally, but I mean that's the argument that fans will always have.
Oh, okay.
Like who would win if Superman here's the classic one: who's faster, the Flash or Superman? It's like, okay, well, if Superman is literally, and I can't say the perfect human because he's an alien, but the perfect everything. Well, of course, he's going to be the fastest because he's faster than a speeding bullet. That means the Flash has got to be faster than that. So they would always have that, I love those old covers of like Superman and the Flash racing. And of course, they would always have to either have a tie or the Flash would have to win. Because if the Flash couldn't win, then what do they need him for? If they got Superman, what do they, after Superman, what do you really need?
Nothing. That's it.
Hey, yeah, I know. And that's the end of the story right there. It's kind of the end of comics. You got Superman.
I'm going to take my utility belt and go.
Exactly. That would make a great story if all the heroes just said, you know what?
You got this.
Yeah. Why, we're useless. You're Superman. We're not. So it's fun to talk about, it's fun to talk about the old stories and the old times and, what could have been and stuff like that. I don't mind it. I'm used to it from the conventions. People always, it's really funny. People come up around and they'll say like, a lot of people tell Mike Zeck and I, oh, Secret Wars, that was my childhood. And I'll be like, yeah. And they'll be like, yeah, I'm like 54 now, and I'm like, oh, I'm 57. And I'm like, your childhood. Okay, so you were 21 and I was 24 when this was happening. So I
Oh,
don't.
my wife still says I'm a child, so
Well,
hey, they can be children at 30 and 40 if they want to be.
right. Hey, I'll tell you what. This stuff right here, LaCroix lemon sparkling water. If I'm gonna be at a convention near you, and you can bring me like a 6-pack of these that I can put in my fridge at night, or a 12-pack, they're very cheap. I'm serious, very cheap. I'll pay you your money back, or do you a quick little head sketch, or something, because I would like you know whatever, if they're around, you're going to be at a show. Uh, they make for good sipping, just as they are.
That's
I
it. And
I you know what, I really like lime better than lemon, but I know they had those buy one get one free, and they had like one of the only one case or one 12-pack of the lime ones, and the rest was lemon. So I said, well, okay, I'll get lemon. It can't be bad. I'll give it a shot. And I wound up liking it better. That's what I stock my fridge with here at the beautiful downtown John Beatty Illustration Studios. Right, Ron?
right.
That needs a cleaning really bad.
So this is episode 41, and it's being brought to you today by LaCroix.
There you go. Hope that's legal that we can say that. I'm giving them all the props.
Free commercial, free airtime. I think they're
There you
okay
go.
with it. They just
All
can
right.
send you a 6-pack.
They could. I would enjoy that. I mean, I keep it here anyway. See, there's certain things. Uh, there's a girl that, and I get where she's coming from. Some ice cream company wanted to send her 16 pints. She's got a ton of followers, and she does hand lettering, and she's very good at what she does. And this ice cream company, and I'd never heard of them before, so it wasn't like a Ben and Jerry's or anything like that. But some ice cream company contacted her and said, "Hey, we really like what you do, and we'd love to send you 16 pints of our ice cream if you could give us an original drawing shout out on your Instagram." And that didn't sit well with her, which I understand. You know, she should get paid for her work, and I feel the same way. So, but what I'm saying is, I'm buying their product anyway. So if I just give them a shout out on my YouTube channel, uh, that's something I'm already doing for free, right? So a little bit of love back from LaCroix would be
You,
nice.
you sell out. AG says LaCroix should be a sponsor
Yeah,
because you're always talking about them. You do enjoy that product.
I do. Uh, it's a good product. It's I had a seltzer or sparkling water called, well, I don't know if that was the name of it, but I think it's from the company called Talking Rain, and it was really good. And I couldn't find it here. I think it's a West Coast thing only. Um, but my friends that I saw and that I actually drank one with, uh, they're drinking LaCroix now. So I guess LaCroix has made it out to the West Coast and maybe has taken over some of that Talking Rain uh, territory that it used to own. I don't know. I don't know what the deal on it is, but
Well, AG usually drinks the Waterloo stuff.
never heard of that.
I haven't either.
I actually started when I was dieting. I started drinking the San Pellegrino, and that is really good, clean. I like the dry finish, Ron. I told you that before. I like something that just finishes and goes down dry, and just kind of cuts that you know cuts that thirst out, and it does the job, and it's refreshing, and the colder it is, the better. Now, my little fridge down here doesn't get as cold as I would like it to, but I don't really want to add ice to it. Although I would if the ice was clean, right, Ron?
No fast food ice.
But I like my drinks really cold. We should tell them about the Mentos ice trick.
I am looking forward to that.
I know.
When to deploy it.
That is a good one. But remember, it only activates in a Diet Coke, the guy said. So you got to find that Diet Coke drinker. Sable.
Oh, he's probably not listening. Let's go ahead and spill the beans. Watch out, Craig.
Yeah. Well, he won't know. He doesn't know what'll happen. Just once that ice begins to melt a bit, all of a sudden, whoa. Could you imagine if you're sitting there having a Diet Coke and all of a sudden it starts to like do that? That would be pretty bizarre, wouldn't it? Well, my chest rating took a huge hit the other day. I don't know what went wrong with people. Suddenly they started attacking, and I'm used to playing the make some moves, retreat, make some moves, retreat, kind of get into a game. But all of a sudden people are like, they're just attacking. They're taking like everything, and then you kind of get caught up in that, and suddenly I'm playing sloppy, and I've lost over 100 points, and I'm not feeling good about that at all. Now, I was kind of tired and not paying attention, and lost my queen on some really like like there's a pawn right next to it. And I'm like, as soon as I move, and I'm like, where'd that pawn come from? I'm like, oh yeah, it's been there. I moved my queen there, and I'm like, maybe that person won't see it. Nope, boom, gone. So feel the burn. Feel the burn of 100+ points that I just and then it was like I was playing these low rated players, and I mean like low like me now. And then I started playing like them because I thought, well, I'm going to get it back because I'm going to play aggressive. And suddenly it feels like I'm playing some grandmaster champ. So I backed off and tried to play a little more conservative, and I get an aggressive player, and all these people are offering these, trade for trade. It's like, okay, you're going to get a knight. I'm going to get a knight. I'm going to get your queen, but you're going to get my queen. And it's like, you got to take it when they put you in that position. I don't know how, got to study up on that. Like, I let myself fall for. There's always a way out, but I'm playing those 10-minute games, and I think that a lot of the times I leave. I'm going to say over 5 minutes on the clock. I'm saying like 6 minutes. So I'm only using like 4 minutes, and they get down to the wires. Now, I did manage to eke out a couple of draws, and if they're in a higher score and the stronger position at the end of the game, I will get a few points. Those I consider victories because I should have never even. It reminds me of this game I was playing with this guy, and I took all his pieces but the king, and he got a stalemate.
Guy sounds like a jerk.
Well, apparently I played right into his hand.
So listen, this Waterloo, they've got some decent sounding. They have a dark cherry, a watermelon, coconut, mango.
I like the dark cherry. I like the sound of the watermelon. Not so much a big fan of mango flavored stuff. And I tried LaCroix's coconut, and
So I had to use the Find Some app on their website to see where the closest was. And for you, it's going to be heading to either Altamont or Orlando to a Whole Foods.
Wow.
And for me, I have to go to Gainesville.
Yeah, but that's pretty normal for you, right?
No.
Really?
Yeah. Wonder what particular flavor he enjoys.
AG, what's your favorite flavor? What you drinking, AG? Well, I'm having I heard I think it was that Dr. Berg was talking about alcohol, and he kind of ranked it in like from what was to what was like horrible for you, and I guess gin is like some of the worst stuff you could ever drink.
I honestly have no idea. I've never actually looked into it.
Well, he did it like beer, red wine, white wine, and then I think it went to like right to gin, like because for some reason gin is not good for your entire system for any reason or something. And not that I never really was a hard alcohol drinker. I was just like, give me a beer. And even then it was just, not a lot.
Oh, you got me beat. I'm like, can I have a peach wine cooler, please? What tastes the least like alcohol? I'll take that.
You want that girl drink, right?
Some of those can be strong.
The one with the umbrella. Come on, Ryan. You want the one with the umbrella?
I want the one that tastes like Kool-Aid.
A slow gin. Have you ever had a slow gin fizz?
I don't know what that is.
Well, if you're going out for drinks, order one.
Yeah, so that will be never, because I never go out for drinks.
All right. Well,
hey,
if you're at a... Yeah.
Oh, we got Kazin. He's happy Friday.
Oh, hey.
Go LaCroix Gambit.
Dr. Kaz, how you doing?
He says, nice cat. It's all in the eyes.
Yes, it is. See, I'm finessing this line more than I wanted to, Ron, but that's just kind of in my, like I said, it's in my DNA. It's in my mindset. If I really, that was a nice loose line I just pulled. That little half circle there. I do want to show something here in the works because tonight was supposed to be Line Decker Joker night. so to speak, right? So I have been doing my research, and so I found these few. Let me. This might still be a little wet, so I'll put it over here. I found these online for some. I cut out anything that wouldn't help me reference wise. This is kind of the shape I like, but I do like the vest tails coming out here. Now, Alex Ross did one with Harlequin, and he may have had this painting out too for reference, but it's got this same type of, I don't know what they would call this on the vest, maybe a V cut or something.
I'm digging it.
Yeah. But everybody, I mean, Alex Ross has done one where the Joker's on a black background and then the white, it's like white tux, white tie. And I love, since the Joker has a flower, he's got the flower here, the lapel carnation or whatever they call, I love the hand here, but I probably would not put that in. Although I might, I could put a hand in with a fish. Doesn't the Joker always have a fish around him or something?
That's the penguin, right?
No, the Joker would always like fish, like I haven't like pulled together. I was trying to think. I like the way Alex Ross did he kind of did a more handsome, slick back dress Joker. Him, Brian Boland's Killing Joke. He's got kind of the nice features drawn and stuff, although he did make him very crazy looking in some scenes, but in other scenes he's very, proper dressed and stuff. I'm just thinking of doing, Joker like if he was at a black tie affair, dapper and stuff. And this one I pulled just for hair reference. I want to give Joker some, not quite so much like this. And, the features in this guy, this is a younger looking guy, fairly younger looking guy, maybe too young, maybe about right. Not sure. This guy is probably, little more, but this is just like a hair reference and maybe nose. Eyes are not quite right because they got to be these almost could be Joker eyes though, because they've got say the word mischievous. They're very mischievous.
Mischievous.
So mischievous. That's what it is.
Sorry, I was looking up Joker fish.
Oh, that's okay. No, like in the Killing Joke, I think I think there was a Marshall Rogers way back, and Marshall drew like him holding two fish like they were guns or something, So anyway, this is just the Leyendecker reference I pulled, and I put it on this sheet so I can have this out. I'm going to also reference, like I said, probably the Alex Ross Joker paintings, Brian Boland, Brian two Brians there, Brian Stelfreeze, and kind of put them together. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is this was going to be a smaller one, which would have been around, let's see, probably around this size. Yeah, somewhere a little bit smaller. I wanted to fit it all on one 6x8. I am thinking of actually, because like I said, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do the daily draw for a while until schedules really get nailed down. And my wife's, my son's, when I can be in the studio, when I can start. I'm not, it's something that I'm going to have to deal with. But I'm actually thinking of doing that like a 9x12, but putting it on the 10x15 watercolor paper I got, Ron, so that I can have that bleed room, so that I can use the full 9x12 and then still have like a border on it. Yeah. So that might become a fuller painting than I had anticipated, but I kind of like the idea. Once I got to thinking about it, I was like, okay, I know that Alex Ross has done it. I know Brian Stelfreeze does like a dapper. I'm gonna call him a dapper Joker because they can make him look crazy, but they also give him more of a, what do I want to say, a GQ type of look. Um, nice, maybe a little nicer suit, little, the hair maybe not as wild. It's a little more controlled, almost like he's sane, but then you see the rest of him. What's this guy doing in this nice tuxedo? So, it's just something that I guess it could be said that it's something that's not original, but what is anymore? It's like, how many times have we seen people, and I would do the same, Batman on a rooftop with his cape flowing, looking over Gotham. It's the classic pose, and there's a reason it's classic. It's because everybody does it. It gets done. It's a proven, it's a proven uh, drawing that will, you know, will be fan friendly. You can't go wrong. It's like it's intentional, and you try to come up with something a little unique. That's why I said, maybe I'll put a fish in there or something. But it could even be maybe something like his little. Well, no, he doesn't have a little pocket square. Not in a tuxedo. I was going to say maybe there could be a print, or maybe a fish head could be sticking out. But that's not to say I couldn't break the rule. I could put it in there anyway. It's my painting, and I can make it as happy as I want.
So you would advise against posing him in the park fountain with a snorkel.
Yeah.
Batman does not belong there.
Right. Well, I don't know. It depends on the story.
I bet you none of those guys have done a hillbilly Joker, though.
That's right. When I started working on that, I said, yeehaw. I said, this guy looks like, he needs some overalls, and I gave him some liver spots and stuff. And that's, like I said, again, that's the fun part about Gotham and Batman's villains, is you got a lot of liberty. And, there could be a story in there, with the hillbilly Joker. Batman could maybe have to chase him into the backwoods of where I was born in Kentucky. Ron, have you started to make a short list of people you're going to get any artwork from at Heroes Con?
Yes, I have. Should I elaborate on the who?
Sure. Why not?
There's the long pause.
No, I didn't know if you wanted to reveal it. Some people keep their list tight to their vest.
That's right. Cut down on competition in those lines.
Yep.
Obviously, I'd probably like to swing by Bagley and Crane's place.
Right.
And then I think Golden was there too.
Yep.
Where's my? I have the list. Hold on.
Now, I will tell you this about Golden. Anybody you get from him, he's going to do well. I mean, you can throw the most bizarre character at him, and he owns everything he does. He just makes it his own character. It's pretty incredible. I've seen some drawings that he's done at shows that are cover quality. I'm sure you have too, on the internet, when people post stuff, and it's I saw him do a shadow drawing the shadow at a show last year. And the detail he put on the guns, it was like about an 11 by 14 or 11 by 17 commission. And the guns were like perfect, and the hands and the pose, and it was just like, it's like when I see that, I'm like, could I buy that mic? But I know he's already sold it, but I couldn't afford it, number one. But it's almost like, you look at it and you're like, wow, could I, sometimes he won't even let you get a picture of it either. He's like, no, this is for, if they allow you, that's fine.
Yeah, and probably Steranko.
Oh, whoa. He doesn't sketch at shows.
No?
No.
Maybe we'll get an autograph on something.
Yeah, you got to get that, because his autograph is a work of art. That's a man that man he really has Jacob energy. I'm serious about that. I don't know if he goes up to his room and collapses or what, but he is always on. He's fantastic. Anybody that's been at a show with Steranko, he's always performing.
And Scott Hanna was a possibility.
Mm-hmm. Jared's going to be there.
Oh, of course, Jared.
I think for $10 or $15 you can get something from him.
I thought everything was 40. That was his.
No. At conventions, I think it's only when he does a painting or a color piece or something does he go to 40. But I don't know. I think at Heroes Con, because I wasn't there last year. I was at Denver, and he blamed me for doing it on purpose. But I didn't know he was actually going to spring and get a table. And then he told me, and I said, well, that's great, but I'm not going to be there. He's like, what? I thought you were. I thought we could hang out. And I said, well, I'm booked at Denver. So he's back. So I will get to see him this year. It'll be good. So I'm debating now a few things. I think I need to put the black background in and see if I need any blacks on her costume proper. Because I kind of like what I got going here, the simplicity of it, and the blacks all kind of like right now read down the middle. And once I get the black on the background scrubbed in, and I got to figure out a nice way to hit that part of the background and still keep it. This is where the big brush comes out. So I don't, I really can't get too delicate with stuff. I got to do like some big, bold, and actually looking at that, flipping through the J.C. Leindecker book again the other night. The big, bold brush strokes that he was laying down really, really, really kind of brought me in this direction on this piece. I mean, just look at those. That's just like incredible. Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful book. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Let me see. I'm just going to find something in here that's, well, everything's amazing. But I just want to find, there's actually, you know what? I have it here behind me. There's this one of George Washington kneeling in the snow praying, and it's very, very good. Wow, I'm looking at these, and I paid like anywhere from, looks like around $8 was average for these old Saturday evening post covers. And it's weird. I've got one here from, 1916. It was $8. And that's, for some reason, when they started, they could only do like black and then, of course, a gray tone. But then they could put red in. And I'm assuming that's because red will read as black, but maybe red also could show up on the plate, on the printer's plate, and it, so they weren't doing like a full color. Here, this is one that's like in the gray, black, and reds. You're gonna get some, but see, I mean, and it's just interesting that's an ad for interwoven socks. There's another one. It's black and of course gray tones and red. And now of course I'm not finding good old George here that I wanted to show you because it's just it's hard to believe. I mean, guy was so good, and much better than Rockwell. Here we go. Well, to me, I think he was much better than Rockwell. You'll have your people think I'm blasphemous for saying that, but this is just like gorgeous. The color, the design, you can't really see because it's in a plastic bag, but the detail, the boot in the snow is just fantastic. The heaviness of the jacket that he's wearing, you can really feel the weight of it on him. And just the drawing of the face is phenomenal. The hands, beautiful stuff.
It is a fantastic piece. Very nice.
It's
a lot of feeling to it.
There's a lot of everything in his work. It's like I would have really liked, and I'm sure it varied, but I'm sure there had to be an average, like what he could complete a piece in, because he was very prolific in doing a lot of work at one time. I'd like to know, like, well, I know he's got to have deadlines for Saturday Evening Post. I wonder what, and I think I even have tried to Google, like, what was his speed, but there wasn't enough written about him to actually have that. Nobody actually recorded, like, how long it took him from start to finish. And because he did, like, these really detailed color, he would hire models to come in and he would work from them, and then he would get all the props and stuff and paint them, and then he would compose a picture, and then that's what the grid was for. He would transfer it onto his bigger canvas, and I'm like, was it a week? Was it 2 weeks? He wasn't doing, I think it was a weekly publication back then, but I think there were other people that were doing covers too. So maybe he was doing one a month, and he was like a few months ahead. But I do believe that he did most of the New Year's Eve babies. That almost became it did become one of his trademarks. That, and then he went on to the Arrow Collar company and did a lot of advertising work for them. And that's where I got most of the pieces you saw earlier that I'll be using for reference on that Joker piece. So over here, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and make this all black. I know I want to scrub in black on this side. Hey, Ron, if you're ever watching the stream and you see the art get a little bit low, can you let me know?
I will.
Yeah. Sable used to get me with that because sometimes I drop it like down here and then it's like, that's why I put this up here too. I've got a little mark, which is out of sight, but that's where my tape, which you can kind of see coming in here, but the tape is right at that line. And if I go up to there, I know I'm okay. But if I stay in here, I know I'm really okay. But sometimes just out of, working, it starts to come closer to me. So mostly in detail work, like right now that I'm scrubbing this black area, I'm probably going to be okay keeping it higher because I don't need to see all that. All that small detail. So this side is pretty much just going to be a black. The other side, I want it to get a little, I should do the Jim Lee tissue. You would like that, right, Ron?
I'm not sure if I care for the tissue.
Yeah, it's, it's like he does it a lot, and it's almost like, okay, um, it works for some pieces, but it's almost like ran its course. I do like that he inks himself a lot more graphic than I think the pencils he gives Scott Williams. Or, I'm pretty sure, which I find interesting. It's almost like when he inks himself, he wants to do a more, black and white type style, less rendering and more shapes. And when he gives stuff to Scott, he goes back to more of, what I would say their known commercial style.
Do you think that has something to do with the amount of time that he's just trying to push it into?
No, because I've seen finished pieces by him done, in that more graphic style that he does on his Twitch stream. I just think it's something that, maybe he enjoys uh, being able to be loose on that type of stuff. And, like I was saying, kind of break out of the, maybe it is the commercial thing. When it's going to be printed, he knows that he has to do all that line work. And when he's just doing something for himself, he can experiment. You know what I'm saying? It's the experimenting is what, if you don't break out of your, let's say, your commercial style every now and again, and you start itching to get out and experiment because you see all these other artists, and you do develop, like I said, it's something that you start to develop a style that you kind of gravitate to, and a lot of it is based on your influences, and it's just a natural thing. So you're kind of guilty of it yourself, um, and then it's the people that are real, the people that usually like Frank Miller, he's not the same person that did the Daredevil stuff so many decades ago. He's changed so much, but in hindsight, you might be able to look at his work and go, yeah, I kind of see, you know, um, not quite as much, but you might be able to pick up. Well, when, like I said, you can see the slow transition of Mignola on different jobs when he started going into the more shape type work. I think the last job he did that really solidified that style for him was Legends of the Dark Knight, and that may have been his last work for DC. I don't remember what issue it was, but it was fantastic. I loved it. I used to keep a copy of that in my file of inspirational books to look at when I was like looking for, just something to like keep me pushing. Okay. Again, let me see. I would like one nice chunk here. There we go. Okay, so gonna see. Let me look at the. Looks like not happy with this shape. Try to. That I kind of liked, but the whole thing didn't work. So I think I'm gonna leave it at that and maybe get rid of this. And give me one quick line. Just connect them a little bit. Now let me look at the monitor. That helps me out. Okay. So that's going to be my background. And now I digest this for a little bit of time, a couple of seconds here while I see if anything's happening in the chat. Okay, not really. 8:30, that's not bad, an hour and a half. But like I said, this was purposely meant to be a simple piece. I will say, for those of you in the room now, Dr. Kaz, if you're listening, I had my blood work done on, I guess it was Tuesday. I went down. Blood work was aces. Don't know if you heard me say that earlier. Phenomenal. Ron says I should live to be 100. Easy.
120.
120. Okay.
Yeah.
As long as I still have my mind, I think I'll be okay with that. As long as I can still sit and draw, and Ron's going to wheel me around in a chair, and and I'm going to be, I'll be bitching about Star Wars, right? Or Secret Wars. See, I'm losing my mind already.
The continuity is what matters.
That's right. I told those young kids back then that you have to read the thing the way it was meant to be read. Yes, technically, Amazing 252 came out first, but we weren't at issue 8 yet. You know, and we never even considered that to be a problem back then. You know what I mean? Like that people were going to be like, oh, well, this really came out. It's like, no, it's an event. People were curious. And I think there was one of those little asterisk blurbs that you don't see anymore, or at least I haven't seen them anymore. And it may have even, they used to be like Stan, at the end. It would be like, see Secret Wars number 8 coming out soon, or something like that. Stan, dot lines or / Stan. Do you ever remember those, Ron? Did you ever see those in a reprint or something?
Yeah,
I always thought
no, I definitely did. So Kaz says it's good to hear about your labs. He's drawing too and listening.
Oh, okay. What you drawing, Dr. Kaz? I hate to take you away from your work, but just curious. And maybe we'll get an answer in a half hour if we're still here. Tap, tap, tap. He's still doing that Secret Wars 8.
Is that what he's working on?
I have no idea. I'm just joking. Because I think he was trying to reinterpret it maybe last Friday or one Friday. Oh, Captain America. Very nice. Can't go wrong with him, I say. And I still have quick head sketches that I need to get address labels and mailed out from, was that last Friday? I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. I need to get those out. I'm probably going to do a mass mailing. That doesn't sound good. A mass mailing. I mean,
The word mass
yeah, I
strikes
know.
fear in
That's
people's
that's
hearts.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that when people hear mass, it's like he's going to do a mass what? A mass mailing. I should say a mass shipping. Then some people could say he said something. They might mishear that. He's going to do a mass shipping. I had an interesting chat with Jim Shooter because his last name literally is Shooter. I said, Jim, I said, if I see you in an airport and I yell Shooter,
Oh,
no, seriously. And, he said something before that some of the TSA agents will look at his card and they'll be like, Shooter, huh? And he's like, yeah. And they'll be like, okay. So they kind of, you know, they're just kind of goosing him a little bit because his last name is Shooter. But I said, because I did. There was one flight that Zach and I were on, and Shooter was on it too. So the three of us were all on the same flight. Now, of course, we weren't sitting next to each other, but I was walking towards the gate, and I saw Jim sitting there, and so it was kind of funny because Mike wasn't there yet, and I went over and sat next to Jim. We were talking. I said, "Hey, Zach's on this flight too," and he's like, "Oh, that's fantastic. We're all going in together." And it's so great to hear Jim talk that way. That he's like, "Oh, this is great." Going in because I know he likes the company, and but I got to thinking of it last year, and I said, Jim, I said, I got to think if I ever see you in the airport again, I just can't be like, "Hey, Shooter, what's up?" Because I might get arrested or held down for a while. I might get questioned for that. And isn't that sad though? I mean, I have to make sure that I would be like, I don't even think I could say Jim Shooter. All they're going to hear is Shooter.
or you could yell, "Hey, Jim."
Well, yeah, I know, but we're kind of used to, well, I kind of call him Jim, but I just got to thinking sometimes we'll be like, "What's up, Shooter?" You know, and you can't do that. People would be diving for the floor and other areas of safety. So anyway, I don't know if I should do anything else on this tonight. I hate to say it. I have had an extremely busy day since 4 o'clock this morning. I have been on the go, and I I got like I'll say besides this, I got an hour of work in before Bella sent me a text, and I had to go get her from work, and then the toilet was clogged. That came to an ordeal. We had to go get Jacob. It's still working on unclogging the toilet, and I finally had to come down here, and my brother-in-law came over and got it unplugged because I came down here at around, well, I left my house probably a little bit after 4, was down here by 4:30, had to answer a few emails and stuff that had came in during the day, and the time actually went by pretty quick, because I don't like to get on here at the last minute. I like to get the headset on and kind of just get comfortable at first, and setting up any lighting, making sure the camera's working right, all that stuff. So, having said that, what do you think, Ron? What do I got here? Somebody's tweeting something. And that's my man, Chris Doe. Let's see what he says. Fashion comes and goes, but Helvetica is forever. That's a typeface for those of you who may not know. Now, I see that they gave it a like and a retweet that Green Lantern HG and I think it's Noah, the Hyper Potato, who is Kirk. I thought they would be able to come more to the evening streams. So I don't know. I just don't know.
I did enjoy today not being able to, have to run in here and be late and all that. I was on time this time.
Well, and part of it was, I know the 6 o'clock could be tough for you. I wanted to give you, since you're helping me, a little bit more time, because it is a big help to have somebody kind of monitor the chat room while I'm working. Oh, as I'm going
Speaking of
through,
chat room,
yeah.
all right. AG says he also unplugged the toilet today as well. No Catwoman drawing though.
That's pretty funny.
What were you saying?
I was
Going through, and I ended up interrupting you.
oh, I was going through my tweets, and I saw that Jared actually did do a Johnny Quest piece. Remember, somebody was asking him about a Johnny Quest all the time. Like, it could have been one of his buddies. Oh, okay. He's got a 9x12 Johnny Quest commission tonight. Do you need an original art piece? I have commissions open for Heroes Con and Dragon Con this year. Or at my next stop, which is Daytona Beach Comic Con, 13th and 14th of April. I'm sure you'll be over for at least one day, right, Ron?
I will. I'm going to hit him up for something. I got to find something odd, unusual for him to draw.
Yeah. He might have a blue falcon.
Whatever he goes to draw, I'm automatically guessing that.
Yeah, there you go. What is it? That's the blue falcon. I Well, so I like this drawing. I think I'm just gonna end it here. I do plan on, except for the Riddler, which my body story, whose real name is Sean, he picked that up on a dibs to the ink stage, and I still want to do the hair black on my penguin and color it. I still am gonna do a nice color job on Harley. I don't know when I'll get to doing the color on these, but it'll be fairly soon. And then I'm gonna definitely do a color piece on this Catwoman, because I'm liking the feel and I'm on the Catwoman. I'm gonna try to let the color just explore. I say this now, but I'll probably wind up controlling it. But I think on any of them, this one's like my loosest as far as inking, which I told you at the beginning. I wanted to go a little more painterly, and was I that successful on it? Not as much as I thought I could be, but I'm trying to get there. It is a bit of a change for me, so it's kind of like, it's got to be it's like a work in progress. You kind of got to learn to just let go. And I struggled a bit with, I think I got a few lines in here that I'm happy with, just a big, thick, juicy brush stroke, and try to get it, that's it. I'm not going to go back and fiddle with it. So, but I still think it could have been a bit more looser in a good way. I know that sounds like a contradiction in terms, but I maintain the drawing, I maintain the look, and so I will be very satisfied that it turned out this way. But on the coloring, I think I want to try to let that really blend itself, and I'm not going to try to push it around so much. I will, if it starts to go in her eyes or something, I will push it out, but I'm going to try to avoid those areas. So I hope to get those nice little, what I like is like on that, well, actually, Ron, I showed you on the Mr. Freeze piece that you had the, where you can actually see where the ink pulled up and was a little darker here where I ended the brush stroke. And it's not like I, fact of the matter is you don't want to try to do a perfect tone. You want it to have that. Like I said, if I wanted perfect color, I should just scan these and color them in Photoshop and keep them as black and whites. If I'm doing watercolor, I need to learn more and more to, although I've seen people do amazing watercolor stuff that's kind of that middle point. I'm not there yet. I'm a novice watercolorer, but I enjoy it. So, but anyway, like I said, I want to be able to try to let the color on this Catwoman do as it, if it starts to blend and bleed a little bit, I'm just going to let it go because that's the intent of it. It's what it's about. That's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. So I guess we will call it a night. That way I can get some dinner, hopefully.
Same here.
And we can both get to bed at a decent hour. That's always nice. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for everybody that showed up, and I will thank those people who are going to watch this at a later time when it may be more convenient. If you've made it this far, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. It's free. Hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when I'm streaming. If you like what you saw, thumbs up on your way out, please. If you have a question, there will be a comment section below down there. Leave a comment. Comment on this piece of artwork. Comment on whatever you want. If you have a question, put it in the comment section, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. For now, I'm going to say good night, and I don't know if I'll be streaming. Like I said, I think I might turn that Joker into a bigger production than I had originally planned. And if I do that, I kind of want to like stream the whole process from getting my reference, starting with pulling my reference so I have it printed out, starting rough initial sketches where they look all ugly and nasty and, people are looking at it that don't draw and going like, I have no idea what's going on there, but hopefully John does. And then I think I can actually, because I think I did a stream where I was tracing off a drawing, and you could actually see it. Like, I would unplug the trace pad and plug it back in, so you could kind of see me cleaning up the line as I was putting it on the board I was going to work on. So that Thanos is pretty light, or I would probably do it. So next week, I'm probably going to be doing more impromptu. I guess that's the right word. Yeah, I got it. Okay, and that didn't
Spontaneous.
sound. Yeah, it didn't sound right. Well, yeah, just spontaneous and impromptu. Just like, hey, I'm working on this. I may as well turn the camera on and just, if you're subscribed and you got notifications, bang, you'll get hit that I'm working. You can join in. It'll be recorded. I'll put it up, and I'll just, I'll make a playlist that just says commissions in progress or something like that, or the process or something like that. I'll just go through the whole process. So maybe that'll be interesting to some people. I think it will be. So for tonight, I guess we're done here. When I start to color these, perhaps I'll even stream those. I would like to have these done along with maybe some other ones that I'll take with me to conventions. I'll probably put them in my store first and let anyone that's followed me have first dibs on them. If they sell in my store, great. If they don't, I'll just take them to a show and put them out on my table, and maybe I'll find a buyer there. But it's always a learning experience. It's always fun. It's always something different. And I hope that you all are gaining something as well as myself. I know I'm learning a lot as I do this, both about YouTube, about, doing different styles. And so I hope it continues to be a valuable tool of learning for all of us. That's my main goal. So, having said that, I will now say have a great weekend. If I don't see you before next week, be careful, be safe, and may your team win, especially if it's Kansas City.
Go Chiefs.
Go. I love the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think there's ever been a better team. And maybe that's why I lost that one. Maybe it was Steven. Maybe he dropped out.
I've had enough of these Patriot-hating Dolphin fans.
That's it. I think we ran him off. All right. Well, everybody, have a good weekend, a good rest of your Friday. Take care, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye now.